me up. In a good way. So, I had given a word of knowledge in the church. I said, there's someone here with lupus, and I believe the Lord wants to heal you. And I did not know this woman had lupus in our church. And then a friend of mine had come in and was preaching, and the next week, and he said, there's someone here with lupus. I believe the Lord wants to heal you. Well, her daughter, who's 16, elbows her and goes, Mom, you think God's talking to you or what? 2 weeks in a row. So she comes up, I don't remember this. The guys that were there ministering don't remember this. When we prayed for her, God completely healed her of the lupus. And that was a disease that I had targeted in my prayer life because it was something we didn't see a lot of breakthrough on in our church. But we knew internally we had breakthrough, but we weren't seeing the manifestation. And I think sometimes what happens is we get familiar with not seeing a manifestation, and we give up on going after it. And actually, sometimes the things that we don't see the most are the things we should go after the most. Yeah. And so I just hate disease. I hate people dying. I hate cancer. We declare in our church it's a cancer-free zone. We're an AIDS-free zone. We're an everything-free zone. We declare when people walk in the door, they're going to get healed. They're not even going to know they got healed until they actually check themselves, which is why I'm saying this. Because one of the things that happens, for whatever reason, it's just the grace of God on my life, is when I go places, people get healed during the worship time. And so if you came in feeling pain or something, I want you to actually check yourself. Come on. Move around. If you had pain somewhere, just check it. See, what we got to do is we got to get used to believing that it's going to go away. Because that worship is powerful. During the worship, He inhabits the praise of His people. And what I'll do sometimes is if I'm feeling sick or something, as soon as I get into worship, I'm checking. Because I'm believing that every time I come to the Lord, He's not saying no. He never turned one sick person away ever. So even tonight, just check yourself. And I have a couple words of knowledge at the end, and I'd like to pray for some people. But I'll tell you one other testimony, which is really cool. And I love testimonies because they have the power to reproduce. Amen. You remember David was discouraged, and he was running from Saul. And he's hungry, him and his men. And he goes to the priest, right? And what does he do? He asks if they have anything to eat. And he eats the bread. And he asks a really weird question. Yeah. He says, you got any weapons here?
Right. Come on.
I mean, maybe that makes sense to you, but to my mind, I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. You're hungry, now you're looking for a weapon. Right. And the priest just happens to say, oh, yeah. Yeah, by the way, we got the sword of Goliath wrapped in an ephod. Just happens to be here where you came to eat.
Come on.
Was it there or did it appear there? I don't know. You know what I'm saying? But what I'm saying is that all of a sudden David was encouraged. Why? Because a previous breakthrough now was giving him power to break through again. Because our breakthroughs don't come from outside of us, they come from within us. Right? That's the process of breakthrough. And so that's why I'm telling testimonies, because for somebody it's going to be powerful, and in the atmosphere it's going to have the ability to reproduce. I was teaching in New York in a church, a simple message, which I hope we can get beyond one day and just believe we're not under the law. But I was teaching that we're not under the law, and I was really like, I got in there that day to teach on that, and I'll be honest with you, I'm this kind of guy. I'm going to tell you how I really felt. I was not happy with the Lord that I had to teach this. I was like, Lord, I don't want to teach this anymore. I'm so tired of teaching we're not under the law. I'm like, because my kids don't even know what it's like to live under the law. All of a sudden I'm realizing that the church is going to have more than one message. Because there's a generation that's growing up under us that don't even know. It's like we're preaching against religion, they never lived under it.
Come on now.
They're like, give me something more. What else is there? I'm just saying, right? So I'm like, you're not under the law, and I teach it, and hear my heart, I wasn't like, I'm not upset at the Lord about it. There was a holy frustration that wanted to move beyond it. And so at the end, this woman comes up to me, and she's like, I need to talk to you. And I'm like, okay, and I asked her a question. She said, I can't hear you. I'm like, oh, what's wrong? She's like, I can't hear out this ear. I've been able to hear out of it for years and years. I'm completely deaf in it. And somewhat haphazardly, I'd say, I really honestly, I didn't do it with any force or anything. I just said, oh, well, the Lord heal your ear. All of a sudden, she starts swearing and cussing.
Oh.
And falls down on the floor and she's crying. She's going, no. And the pastor's looking at me. And I'm looking at him, you know. Now, you know, I oversee a church, so I know what that's like. So I'm like, okay, I think I did something really wrong. I'm not, like, we're in trouble. And, you know, I didn't know if I, like, hurt her, you know, because I didn't ask permission like I normally do. And so it was very dramatic. It was the most dramatic thing I've ever seen anybody do when the Lord touched her. And everything that came out of her mouth was really raw. And so she got up and I asked her, I said, well, you know, what happened? She said, my ears open and I can't believe it. I'm like, why can't you believe it? She said, because I just got saved 3 weeks ago. And I've been a prostitute for the last 15 years.
Wow.
And I did not believe that the Lord could heal me. But when you were talking about we're not under the law,
Oh, come on now.
I was like, Lord, I'm sorry. You know, there's a need for that message. It's just not the only message. But my point of saying that is that there's no one beyond the Lord's touch tonight. So if you've come, there's no mistakes here. There's nobody that is sitting in this room that has messed up too much that God can't redeem your time. The best thing we have going for us is that time is on our side, because time has an expiration date. We're eternal and we're going to live forever. So time has an expiration date. The clock is ticking on all the things against us. And the longer we live, the greater chance there is in seeing redemption.
Come on.
So if you're here tonight, it isn't last night, it isn't the night before, it's not even 5 minutes ago.
Wow.
Everything that we experience in the now.
Yes.
Right? All your pain, all your trauma, you experience that in a now moment. But the problem is, it's not that moment anymore, and that moment's trying to be the now. And then the other people, there's another group of people, which are people that are living for the future, and you're robbing yourself of your present because you can't wait until that happens. The thing is, the future can only happen in the present, and there is a now moment for your word, but we rob ourselves of our own destinies because we think destiny is about getting to point Z. Destiny's never been about point Z. Destiny's always been about discovering who He is you in the present now. Right? Because it's not about where you go, and it's not about what you do. It's who you are when you do it, and what you're discovering in the process. And all we're really discovering is Christ. It's funny, isn't it? You know, the longer you live, the more you. We were just talking about this in the car. He was talking about just giving some testimony about the Lord, like realizing that, looking back over his life, that, man, God's been in this thing the entire time, and I'm worried about stuff I never need to worry about. So this is your now moment. This is your now moment. God has something for you tonight. And so I just want to throw out some things about culture, but I'm going to jump into Mark 8 to do it. And I don't know if I'll finish this tonight, or maybe jump back into it a little bit tomorrow morning again with Apostle Stephen, and then tomorrow night. But I want to jump into Mark 8. And I don't know if you guys do scripture on the wall or not. You don't have to. But Jesus, what He's trying to do here in Mark 8 is He's going to challenge them in how they see. He's going to challenge their perspective of their present moment. I believe every moment I walk in is a now moment, is a divine moment, is a destiny moment. Everywhere I go is a destiny moment. Everything I do has purpose. Everywhere I step my foot is my inheritance. You know, we've talked about these things for years, but I think the reason why the Lord was giving us those things in the 80s and the 90s in the church was He was setting us up for the moment we live in right now. How many of you know that the world's way of doing things, they're coming to realize that the equations don't work anymore? But how many of you know that God has set up that stage so that kings can rise with the answer?
Come on.
And so what's happening in here is training for us to be positioned to stand out there and have influence. Because every single one of you has influence. You know, it's a lie that the churches believe that some people in the church have influence and other people don't have influence. No, no, no. Every person in this room has a sphere of influence. You work somewhere, you have a job somewhere. Now there is a difference between gifts and government in the church. There's government in the church, and not everybody's called to that. That's a divine call by God. But everybody's gifted, and everybody can minister in all the gifts of the Spirit. But you may not have, quote unquote, government in here, but I guarantee you got government out there.
That's right.
If you have a family, you function in government.
Yep.
And so I think God is trying to get us ready to really be positioned to change this world. I really believe that. I really believe that. Because God gave His kingdom so that the kingdoms of this world could become the kingdoms of our God and His Christ. And see, too many people are waiting for a kingdom to come in the future, and they're missing the reality that the kingdom is in them in the now. And the more you become aware of the kingdom in you, the more you can release the kingdom through you. You can't flow in what you don't know. And so if you don't know who you are, you can't release who you are. And guess what? If you don't know who you are, you're subject to other people telling you who you are. And so God has been releasing this message of identity, and you have great teaching in here. And it's just releasing this message. He's releasing, the new covenant. He's releasing the revelation of sons of God. All these things that we've learned. And God's saying, okay, now it's time for my people to stand up and flow in who they are and who they know.
Come on.
Yeah.